came from Mililani.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had traffic.
I got a visa, so I was able to, get out. And people in Honolulu said, "Hey, Mililani, what? The planned community, never mind." Wasn't bad. No, I have my whole traffic thing completely timed. That's what I was telling you. I got to be out by 1 because boom. I have my whole life centered around no traffic.
You do. Oh, coming from, you're from Waianae side too, right?
Oh, bro.
From Waianae too. So we plan everything around traffic. Everything.
You get the Waianae time. Okay, it's 9 o'clock for you, but for me, 10 o'clock because I got a plan.
I got to leave last night.
I need a time machine.
Yeah. If you guys haven't noticed, we got a special guest in the building tonight. The one and only, the legend of Hawaii comedy. I mean, he did it all from sketches, from movies, from stand-up in the mainland as well. It's one of my idols in comedy. The reason why I do comedy, Mr. Andy Bumatai, everybody.
No blame me. No blame me. Yeah, how's it, Tumua?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I had to have you on here. I mean, this is the stand-up life. And funny thing about this, everyone's been asking, we forgot to put the Oahu Island. Look.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that. Where Oahu?
I seen the comments. Oh, what happened to?
We on Oahu.
I said Oahu in our hearts. That's why.
I know, plus cost money.
So I got to take the whole thing out and make a new one.
No, you do. Just kind of get a white Oahu and just stock them on.
Just carve it out in the middle right there.
Dremel.
Oh, man. How long have you been doing comedy?
Oh man, let's see. I'm not good at math, but I won Most Promising Artist in 1979. So that's 70. So I probably started in 78.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I probably started 77, but nobody knew until probably 78 when I worked a little. That's when I did an album.
Right.
Because I won that for the Nahoku Hano Awards, so I must have had an album. So I would say 77.
77, like okay.
I was 25 or 24, something like that.
And did you always want to be a comedian, or because I heard you was a salesman first, right? Xerox you were selling?
I know. Well, what happened was I was a salesman. I sold copy machines. Right? And I also fixed them, you know what I mean? I went to, circuits and devices, and I like that kind of stuff, still do. But anyway, so I'm selling copy machines. So my boss is having a party at his house up in Tantalus, right? And mainland representatives are there, right?
Yeah.
And it was in the evening sometime. So that afternoon, I went to see All You Wanted to Know About Sex But Was Afraid to Ask by Woody Allen. Remember that movie? Okay.
I don't remember. Yeah, I know who Woody Allen is, but
it was a classic Woody Allen movie, right? But anyway, so I went to see that movie, and then I went to the party straight after, right? And when I got to the party, I was all still laughing about this movie, and it had just come out. So you got to imagine there was 15, 20 people at this party, right?
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, you got to go see this movie. Okay, there's this one part." And I stand up in the middle of this party and I start acting out the sketches, right? And anyway, I'm killing it, right? And then, so then I sit down afterwards, and one of the mainland guys, right, the representatives, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I know you're a good salesman, but if you don't pursue stand-up comedy, you're missing your calling."
Wow.
And I went, "What?" And he says, "Stand-up comedy, man. I mean, that's what you should be looking into." And I went, "Well, what's stand-up comedy?" Right? Because in Hawaii, we didn't have.
Exactly, yeah. There wasn't anything.
There wasn't none, right? That I knew of. Actually, I'll touch upon that in a second. And I went, "Really? What?" So then I started looking into it, right? So then that's why I called my first album Hawaii's First Stand-Up Comic.
Right.
Because I thought I was the first one to do stand-up in the traditional sense, right? Without playing music or any of that kind of stuff. Well, years later, it turns out, with more research, Kent Bowman was actually the first one, right? KK Kaumanua. You're way too young.
I don't even know who that
He was
is.
before my time, so
Okay.
he was way before your time.
Yeah.
But Kent Bowman, he did Fractured Fairy Tales. Oh, Grandma, what big mucker you stay get? Oh, the better for see you eat. He did these Fractured Fairy Tales. And my mom had the album. My mom and dad, he was very popular. But I didn't equate him to doing stand-up till later. I saw him actually, hey, ladies and gentlemen, audience, we got Kent Bowman on these old films, and he got up, grabbed the microphone, and basically did stand-up.
Right.
So I went, in fact, he died, right?
Yeah.
And I went to his funeral and thanked him, after the fact, because I said, I was calling myself the first stand-up, but Kent Bowman was actually the first. So even though I never met him, I said, sorry, brah.
What ethnicity was Kent?
Portuguese.
He's Portuguese.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So you're at this party. The mainland representative says you should try stand up. You start researching stand up. When was the first time you ever performed official stand up? Or first time you got on stage?
It was a pizza place right there across the theater by the university.
Okay.
I forget the names, but the guy, he has the same birthday as me, and they had an amateur talent show. There was no open mic nights. So I went there and I did it and died like a rat, of course, right? Came up with some joke. Thought I could go up and fake it. Right?
Yeah.
And
that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah, right. And then I realized how difficult it was. And then I started researching and watching a lot of Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Because that was my only exposure to stand-up, right? How he did it, how he timed things and stuff. And then as I thought back to it, I realized, my mom was a real fan of comedy, and she had Lenny Bruce and Dick Gregory and the button-down mind of Paul, Newhart. God, I forgot his first name, but anyway,
Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart, and she had all these albums, and I remember I was a little kid, bro. But back in those days, right? And Rusty Warren, I got to mention Rusty Warren. She was a huge Rusty Warren fan, okay, who lives here now, by the way, or I hope she's still alive. Oh, wow. Anyway, and I remember my mom, back in those days, you bought an album, you invite all your friends over, you put it on the hi-fi, right? This giant thing, right? And everybody would listen, and they'd all laugh. Now, I was a little kid, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going, how come all these having good fun laughing at whoever's talking? And I think it infused my mind with, that being something a lot of people that brought
planted
joy
the seed in you. Yeah.
to a lot of people, And back then, and all the women in the 50s, you got to understand, they were all brutalized, basically, by these alpha male men.
Right. So where did you find spots to practice material? Because there wasn't any clubs, right? There wasn't any.
I searched out amateur talent shows. Anytime there was an amateur talent show, I'd go up.
Yeah.
And Gong Show was real popular at the time, right? The TV show Gong Show. So everybody was doing gong shows.
Gong shows.
Right? So there was this big gong, and then you'd go up, and then people would hit the gong.
I think I read about that.
And I was always the first one to go.
You'd hit it if you'd bomb or no?
Well, you don't. There was a popular show on TV. It was called The Gong Show.
Yeah.
And it was an amateur talent show, and you'd have celebrity guests, and they'd sit down there, and if the guy was junked, they'd stand up and they'd hit the gong.
Oh.
And you'd get gonged. Right.
Oh,
And
wow.
so there were a lot of those kinds. So I would go up and I'd always tell my jokes, and it was always a lot about Y&I.
Yeah.
I grew up on the West Side. I'm still doing a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
Back then it was all about that, and but boom, my cousin's uncle's friend's dog leave Y&I. Never mind, brah. Boom,
When did you? What moment did it hit you where you're like, okay, I can start doing this now for a living? Because wasn't there a point I read somewhere where you had to sacrifice your when you're selling copy machines? You have to give that up to go to do stand up.
Well, yeah. I have a compulsive personality.
Yeah.
Where if I decide I'm going to do something, I'm just all in. I don't care, And so you got to understand. I'm living on Tantalus. I got 2 Mercedes. I'm making money. I'm a good salesman.
This is all from your copy machine.
Yeah, from my copy machine days.
Okay.
Right. And I decide to give all of that up and be a stand-up and starve for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man, at some point I went, wow, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? You know what I mean? But then what happened was, one of my favorite stories, and this is why I love Frank de Lima so much. Okay? I was trying to find a place that would hire me. So like a salesman, because it's what I did for a living,
right.
I went from one club to the next in Waikiki.
Yeah.
Every night for months, trying to get somebody to, what do you do? I'm a stand-up comic. What kind of music you play? Oh, I don't play music. Well, then what do you do? I tell jokes. You just talk. Okay. You know what? Get plenty of people in here. We're going to let these people clear out. They're not going to see you do your act. No, you don't understand. There has to be people there because it's well, I don't like you chase my customers. Or, that's what I was up against, right?
So tough, man. Yeah.
Oh, bro, it was brutal, right? And then, so what happened was I was ready to give up. I was in Waikiki, rejection. Finally, I see the noodle shop. Right? And I see Frank on there with Kimo Kekoeva and Chuck Tilton when they were Nakolohi back then. And they're playing mellow Hawaiian music. There are a few people in the place. So I walk up and I talk to Millie, his manager who ran the room. Hey, She goes, oh, that sounds interesting. How much would you charge for that? What if I gave you $10 a show? Yeah. I would have done it for free.
And $10 was a lot back then, too.
Oh, bro, yeah, no, $10. I mean, $10. Adjusted for inflation, that's like $12 today.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she says, well, how about this? Frank does his show, and then you can play the breaks in between Frank. And I look up, I don't know Frank from Adam. I see him, yeah, sure, I'll play the breaks. Okay, well, come back Saturday. Okay, I come back Saturday. I see Frank. K-O-H-O, K-O-H-O, go, brah. The place is going off. He's getting killer laughs. Oh, hey, okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce a young man. I was like, what? I didn't even know he did comedy.
Yeah.
So I went on, died, really died. And you have to understand, back then, the audience would be Robert Cazimero, all the newscasters, Daryl Lupanui, and all the monsters from
Don Ho.
Don Ho came in a couple times, but it was the place you went after your place closed because Millie would give the entertainers free food, right? So everybody, we'll go noodle shop, and then Frank and they'd get up and they'd do guest sets. So during his breaks, they all like vala'au, right? And I'm on stage, hey, and then Kekoeva, big Hawaiian, right in the middle with his back to the stage, right? Shut up, where's your triple talk? Like, oh man, right? So anyway, months of that, but it's the only gig I had, right?
Yeah.
So I kept grinding, right? My favorite story. At one point, I went, I walk out by the pool. The pool was right there. And I had my hand against the wall. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this, right? Melvin Lead walks out. She sees me, right? And I'm like, oh. And she goes, boy, come here. And she put her hand on my shoulders. And she go, okay, you know what? We all been there. What you're going through now, you have to go through.
Yeah.
This is you cutting your teeth, okay? Now here, I know you suck now, but there's something there. No give up.
Don't give up.
You got to look at this as being in a gym and working out.
Yeah.
Okay? One day you're going to look back on this and you go, oh, okay. And it was true. And it was that when I went, okay, maybe I'll keep going.
Start to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you get good, or when did you build a following? Was it after high school days, or was it before that?
No, what happened was I kept sniffing around. I had to get out of that environment.
Yeah.
Because it was just wrong. I was just wrong for to play the breaks. He and Frank wanted to Valhalla at the time. That's when he did all his glad handing and stuff. So I went and found Kojak's across from the old police station. There was a little place, and they had bands in there, and it was right next to the university.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, maybe that's my crowd, because I was young at the time. So I went into Kojak's, right? And I asked Mel, and he was a fan of stand-up, and he was from the mainland, right? Mel Pinzari, this little boy, I used to call him R2D2, this little bald Italian man, fat. He used to chew tobacco, open the front door, and spit out of it. He was real, old school. He goes, "Hey, stand up. Yeah, okay. I'll give you Monday nights." And I went, oh, okay. And then I thought, why would this guy do this? Well, turns out when the place closed, he was using it as a gambling place, which is where he really made his
Game
money.
room, yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't care about what happened, but he liked stand-up.
Yeah.
So he gets up there. So I get up there and I'm dying 2-3 people, but I'm getting an act, right? So Larry Fleece from KGMB comes to me and he goes, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a television special, right? Your stuff reminds me of this, because if you watch School Days, all the stuff, that was me parodying all these different types of people, right? So I said, well, what if we went back to my school, and I called it High School Days, and I teased the gym teacher and the cafeteria lady and, different.
It was all at Waianae High School, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was all shot there, right? So I said, oh, okay. And so we ended there, and I don't know, I'm dying on Mondays, shooting this show.
Yeah.
Takes about, I don't know, a few weeks, and they cut it together. I don't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it airs, right? I'm walking to Kojak's, right? I look over, I see the room. There's a line all the way down the block and around out into the street, right?
Yeah.
And I see the line, I go, Mel gave my night to the band. And I turn around and I walk and I go home. And I'm sitting down and then the phone ring. Bring. Yeah, hello? Where are you? What? There's that place is packed, you idiot. Oh, I thought you gave my night to the band. No! Mel screaming at me. So I run, because I lived only right around the block. I was living in Makiki at the time, right? Run down there. I walk in. What? And the place was packed like that for a year. And then we did School Days. And that's when the Beamer brothers came and said, hey, you want to open for us in Waikiki? Wow. And that's when it...
Yeah. If you guys don't know, High School Days is your first film you made, right?
Yeah, that was the first one. That was 79, I think we did that.
And then All in the Ohana was what year?
1980.
1980.
The year after.
I grew up watching All in the Ohana, and I personally believe you were the first guy ever to play multiple characters. Yeah. And then that was before, like, Eddie Murphy did The Night
There's
Professor.
A shot in his movie that looks exactly like the shot
at the dinner table.
At the dinner
dinner table. Junior boy, honey girl.
Yeah. In fact, do you remember what was it called? Moving on up to the east, the Jeffersons.
Yeah,
there was the movie The Jeffersons, right?
Yeah.
The Jeffersons were coming to Hawaii to do a 2-part series, and they had a whole script written on what the thing was in. The producers saw All in the Ohana, and went, "That's a better idea. There's going to be land. There's going to be the Hawaiians." And then, so they came to me and said, "Can we use your idea basically, and because, and I went, oh, like bien. So I got the part in the Jeffersons. I still get residuals from it today,
wow.
and that was in 1981.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was those two films pretty much was your big break, was High School Days, All in Ohana.
Yeah.
That's how you start to get a following.
Well, that's because this is before the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
This is before social media, so everything was about TV. We got, I mean, I don't know how, versed you are, most people are on television, but we got a 52 share, which means that on the day it aired, of all the televisions in Hawaii, 52% of the televisions were tuned to All in the Ohana.
Oh, wow.
I mean, many people, and I went, oh, is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they, anyway.
Yeah, so I'm guessing right after those films, you probably was the man in Hawaii then, yeah? Getting noticed everywhere you walk around.
Oh, yeah, well, then I got, what I'm saying, and my popularity rose, right, of course, exponentially because I was on.
Yeah.
And then I got the Beamer Brothers, so now I'm working in Waikiki. And then from there, I get hired by the Monarch Room, by, I guess it's Hilton. I don't know. I forget who owned it. But I don't know if you remember. You're way too young to remember this. But if you remember, my contract was $1 million a year.
In the Monarch Room?
In the Monarch Room.
Oh, wow.
$1 million, bro. You know what that was like in 1981? I mean, I should have bought houses. I bought cars. I was so stupid. Plus, there were some other management issues that I won't bore you with. But
how often were you performing at the Monarch Room?
5 nights a week.
5 nights a week for $1 million a year.
Yeah. Well, I think it was $1.5 million for 2 years or something crazy like that.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was, and again.
What age were you?
I was 26.
26?
Yeah.
But you was living the dream then.
Oh, Porsche, house on Waileiki. Boom! Right? But I wish I had better management because, Chemo, he was out, he was quixotic, the epitome of quixotic, and he tried to. We immediately went to the mainland and tried to produce the sitcoms and did all this stuff and spent a lot of money on stuff we shouldn't have.
Yeah, let's talk about the jump from the mainland because I'm dealing with that right now. Since the past 2 years, I've been touring on the mainland, and I'm noticing there's a lot of local people there, but there's some areas where there ain't local people. So I gotta adjust my material a little bit, make it a little more universal. You kind of talked to me about that couple of days ago, but explain what was the transition like going from Hawaii to doing shows up in the mainland? Because I heard you did some spots at the Comedy Store, and I mean that's an iconic room.
Well, I would see after I lost my money, basically. Okay, and this is about 1983. The only thing good about that year, 1983, it's where I met my wife. Right.
What do you mean you lost your money?
I lost it all. I mean,
all from the Monarch Room,
Well, I didn't lose it. My management lost it. So I mean, here I am. I had $500,000 in the bank, and I'm just having a good time, and and all of a sudden, my accountant calls me up. Hey, you only got about 50,000. What? Well, we spent money, and and then I had to go to Chemo and go, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I'm trying to, you got to spend money to make money. Anyway, I won't bore you with that part. Don Ho put it this way when I was whining about it one time. Andy, chemo is a phase. So I went, okay, cool. And it's funny when you introduced me as a legend, right? Don Ho, when I was 40, I was hanging with him, whining about feeling old. And he said to me, boy, you're not going to feel old. until they start calling you legend.
Exactly. That's a good impression you got right there.
I idolize that man, you know. And one of my favorite Don Ho quotes is Linda Coble. She was interviewing him for a show like this,
Yeah.
and she says, "How would you like to be remembered?" And he goes, "Remember, I still try and get people forget things I did." You know, people do Don Ho's impressions of him all the time.
Yeah.
But what they all leave out is when Don spoke, right? If you asked him a question, he would process before he answered.
Yeah.
He'd like, "Hey, Don, what about this?" You go, you know. We were backstage one time and one of the dancers says, "Don, I'm thinking about asking so-and-so to marry me," one of the other dancers.
Yeah.
"So what's your advice?" He goes, "How her voice sound to you?" Her voice? "Yeah. Make you happy, make you sad, bother you even a little bit?" "No, because you know, boy, you got to listen to that voice for the rest of your life."
I love Don Ho. Man.
Oh man, it was just. There were two more Don Ho stories. One, we went out, and this is after Ohana, right? And I'm starting to get, recognized and stuff.
Right.
Andy, hey Don, Andy, hey Don, hey Andy, and he goes, "You're getting recognized, eh? So you have sent back your last steak." What do you mean? Now you can send back food. I don't care how junk, eat them, pretend you like them, and tip big.
Exactly.
Because he says that waitress will tell everybody for the rest of your life you're a jerk if you don't, I mean, oh man, it was just so much. But anyway, so because of that, I lost my money. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to go start over on the mainland. So I went to the Comedy Store, and I'm doing, 10-minute sets on.
And this is back in what years?
83.
80s. That's back with like Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, all those guys, right?
The Comedy Store is a tough time for me to talk about because when I was there, it was Jim Carrey, Jerry Seinfeld, Bob Saget,
right.
Sam Kinison, all these guys who really made it big, and I never did. You know what I mean?
I was watching the comedy special, the Comedy Store special on Showtime, and they were showing pictures of Mitzi Shore and all the other comics, and there's a picture of you in there with them.
Yeah. Well, because what happened was I got there and they said, "Well, you got to work the OR, the original room, and you get 5 minutes, and then you get 10 minutes, right?"
Right.
Well, I'd been doing comedy for 3-4 years solid in big rooms. I had an act and everything. So I really stood out.
Yeah.
Right? I had to change my stuff because it was all mainland people, right?
Yeah.
And that was the transition point where I did it. Pretty soon I was playing the main room and working and introducing, Pryor and Eddie Murphy and all these guys because you became the MC in the main room, right?
What was it like watching Richard Pryor in that room?
You know what? It was inspirational because he went up there and he would die
He'd bomb.
trying out new stuff.
Yeah.
He did this one thing, I'll never forget it. I mean, to this day I'm going, and it didn't work. You got to understand, there's a full packed room, right? And I asked him before I went on, I go, "Richard, what's it like going on being Richard Pryor?" And he said to me, "You get a free 3 minutes. After that,
you got to be funny.
Say something funny." But he went up there and he tried this one bit about, you ever go to the woods and watch a deer trying to drink water? They're so afraid of getting eaten, they never drink. And for 5-10 minutes, he did this.
No laughs. Silent.
And it looked like it was the perfect deer. But you know, and then, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And he gets off. I guess that didn't work.
Right.
But you realize
That's how you get good. I mean, it's tough bombing or trying out new stuff. I mean, we both experience it.
Well, we're doing it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, all the time. I mean, that you know, I posted a thing about you had me rolling with your new stuff, you know what I mean? And which almost doesn't count because I see the potential
Yeah.
more than the finished bit. You know, you just showed me like all the ingredients and I saw the cake.
Exactly.
know
I'm
what,
still working on it. Yeah.
You saw how excited I was when
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
off the stage. I went, bro, that bit, you know how much legs that has.
Yeah.
You know?
It's. I mean, comedy is the only profession or art form that you get judged instantly. Instantly. You can't. It's not like, you know, sketches or films where you can take multiple takes.
Yeah.
But just being in a room, saying a few lines, and it's an immediate reaction.
Boom.
Yeah.
Right.
So you know if you.
And people go, well, what about a band? Hey, a band got to play a 3-minute song
Yeah.
and then see if people
Exactly.
clap or if during the song
Yeah.
they started to get off.
I think was it you that told me that like there's different forms of comedy, like there's stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, improv, and then out of all those comedies, stand-up is the hardest one to.
No.
Or
I
what
said,
was it again?
What was it like? I said, of all the
Professions in
all the
comedy,
professions, entertainment
Yeah.
is probably the most difficult to be successful at.
Right.
Within entertainment, the most difficult is comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and within comedy, it's stand-up.
Yeah.
So you have decided to take on the most difficult thing.
Then if you can master that, then all those other things can fall
Well,
into
then
place.
you can do this
Films
and
or-
be on,
Yeah,
and do
yeah.
the other stuff. But stand up is the hardest, you know.
Yeah.
To me, anyway.
Right.
At least it is for me.
I think so too. It's hard. It's hard coming up with new material and flipping it around and the expectation. I'm sure you experience it. Like right now, I'm not trying to be humble, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
popular with my comedy, and now I gotta deliver a whole brand new hour and be even funnier than that, and all the people they see.
Well, you have to understand. You know, I've been around long enough. I've I saw it happen with Augie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There were, and again, this is before social media and stuff. Augie did the same thing. I remember watching his first few, you know, you got to do this. You got helping him like you would help, somebody walk when they're a child.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, he just took off and exploded, and he's playing the NBC arena like you did.
Yeah.
You know, all that kind of stuff. And then, it settles back down, and then here comes Tumua. Boom, same thing. And you're going to see somebody else do that too.
Yeah, it's the part of the
That's
part of the Hawaii comedy. Let's talk about Hawaii comedy in general and the evolution of Hawaii comedy. Like who was your competition back in the day? I know there was Frank. What not competition, but other guys that were around doing comedy.
Well, it was Booga Booga and
Booga,
Frank.
Rap
and me.
Replinger, yeah.
And that was it.
Just you three guys.
Booga Booga was three.
Three groups.
Yeah, it was Ed
Kahea.
Kahea, James Grant Benton, and Rap Replinger.
Yeah.
Right. And then Rap left, and I joined Booga Booga.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right. That was just before Kojak's. I left that part out because it's dicey. But what happened was I was at the noodle shop with Frank. Right. And Rap decided to go on his own, so they needed a replacement. And Ed was sitting in the back watching me die in front of, in Frank, during Frank's time. And he said, anybody that can do that. So they offered me, a pittance to be the things. But we had some issues, and I love those guys. Don't get me wrong. Ed's still alive. But there were two things. Number one, they swore. And I don't.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, no, you can't take the F-bombs out of that or it won't be funny.
Right.
And I would say, then it isn't funny.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other thing, and I've lost other friends over this too, I'm on time.
Yeah.
I'm early.
Yeah.
I'm a nut about on time.
Right.
Especially when people have paid and are sitting down and expecting the show to start at 7. They didn't think twice about sitting up in the room and talking and letting a half hour go by.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
they
yeah.
walk down like kings. And I went, bro, I'm going crazy here.
Yeah. It's a big thing, especially with Hawaii people. They always come late.
Well, that's because they don't expect at the no vacancies. I don't know if you noticed, we start early.
Yeah.
Dude, I love doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Apologize, but we're going to start early. And I know in Hawaii, that's against the law.
Yeah.
Don't tell nobody, but we're going to start early.
For real. That's a cool club. There's a new spot at Pro Ridge. If you guys haven't been there yet, No Vacancies Comedy Club. And what they do is they just the shops or the restaurants or whatever, when they go vacant, you guys kind of just fill in there for temporary and do some stand up, and then it seems that like every month there's a new location.
Well, no, we were in the last location for 3 months.
Yeah.
But when they can't rent a place, right? Then people come in, they look at it. It usually takes them a month or so. So we fill in the club, and then we give the mall a taste of what we create in there revenue wise, right? But it also draws people to the mall.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and in the Pearl City area, plenty of people in Pearl City, you know, Hawaii. What? Town? Oh, I gotta drive like 10 miles. Oh, it's gonna cost me, what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Forget that. I'll go and stay in my own area.
Yeah. That's good to have it on the west side. We hate driving downtown. We hate being in Waikiki.
I know. But then you go to the mainland and you hear people say, I'm only an hour away.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll be there. It's only an hour.
It's only an hour. That's the main thing, bro.
Bro, I did a show on Molokai one time. And
how was that?
And everybody went, why you don't do the show where everybody stay? You do them down here. Because it was like...
Yeah.
I went, oh, you're like 5 minutes away. I know, but that's all relative, I guess.
So, back to the Comedy Store. You got passed over there? Did they call it that back then? You got passed at the Comedy Store by Mitzi, or like a paid?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
I think they call it like if you're passed at the Comedy Store, you're a paid regular.
Oh yeah. You know what happens is you get paid like $15 to do the OR, but when you go to the main room, you get a piece of the room, right? So if it's me and Bob Saget and Seinfeld or something, we would all split the room, and I was doing real well there, right. And then what happened was from there. Agents come in and then they see you, and that's when I got opening act for Tom Jones and Kenny Loggins and Charlie Daniels and those kind of acts. So I was playing Vegas a lot and traveling on the road with people like Tom Jones. Yeah, which great money, but I felt like I was back at the noodle shop because it's a Tom Jones show, and the whole front of the audience are all these women with cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tom Jones show. Ah! And now your opening act, Andy Bumatai. And I'd walk out and they'd all go like this. And I'll walk away and sit down.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay.
How many years were you up in the mainland doing this?
10.
10 years?
10 years.
You lived there you lived in LA?
Yeah, I lived in Los Angeles, but, with my girlfriend at the time, which was, now my wife, and she traveled with me. What would happen was they would send me a first-class ticket to fly someplace, and then I would split the ticket and bring her along. Yeah. And sometimes we took the train. It was a wonderful time because it was just her and I.
Oh, she supported you from the beginning then.
Oh, yeah, in fact, when I moved over there, I had met her here before I went there to start over, and I called her from there and said, you know what, I'm starting over, basically, and I would really love for you to be a part of it. And, it was like, please come to LA. She said, oh, okay.
Would you ever come back to Hawaii and perform again, or?
Rarely, very rarely. And what happened was I got so good at doing the mainland thing, I came back here to do shows, and all the local people went, Bro, what happened to the local
What
material?
happened? What happened to your pigeon accent?
Yeah, what happened to you pigeon, bro? And I had to relearn it when we came back because my son came along. My wife got pregnant.
Yeah.
So we got married. We hadn't been married to that, but when she got pregnant, she get Japanese family, so we got married. She's the one that didn't want to get married, by the way.
So you got married first before the baby?
Oh, yeah. She was pregnant with the baby when we got married.
That's the Hawaii way.
Yeah.
Well, the real Hawaii way is baby first, then marriage.
Well, you know what? I didn't want my kids to grow up on the mainland. So I moved back, and everybody went, "No, you can't. You're just starting to, it's all happening."
Yeah.
You know what? I'd rather have my kids grow up on the
How many
mainland.
kids do you have?
2.
2 kids. What are the ages?
34 and 32 now. Yeah, my daughter just got her doctorate.
Oh, congratulations!
Well, I didn't do anything.
Did they
Maybe
get the
paid for some of it, but my joke is, so we have Amy Bumatai, PhD, and Andy Bumatai, GED. I could start adding those after my GED.
Did anyone get like the entertainment bug? Did they want to do
No.
comedy? No.
Nah.
You're the only entertainer in your family.
Well, my brother.
Oh, that's right.
He
Your
passed
brother.
away.
Yeah.
Raymond.
He's a musician.
Yeah, he was a musician, but also a comedy actor. He was also in Booga Booga. He and I did some comedy bits, on TV, and we did different things. My favorite comedy bit that he and I ever did.
Yeah.
Right. We were, doing stuff like you're doing. We were out, shooting stuff and guerrilla camming, all this kind of stuff. Well, we were in Kahala, right? So I see this. I forget what they call it, like a destroyer. It was like this big thing with a claw on it, right? And it was sitting in somebody's yard, right? Really nice house, but so I walk over to the guy, go, "Brah, what are you gonna do with this in this yard? Dig a pool?" And he goes, "No, bro, I'm gonna bust this house down." "Bro, this house is beautiful." "I know, but you're a rich Japanese guy. He build one more nice house." So he hired me, bust his house down. I said, "When is that gonna happen?" He goes, "Oh, tomorrow, bro." "Okay, you know what, bro? Hold on." So I go call my brother, and I tell that we go to this guy. I said, "Bro, I'm gonna give you $100,
Yeah,
right? And work with us, right?" So here was the skit. "How's it? And welcome to Waianae Home Entry Systems. Have you ever locked your keys outside your house and you cannot get in? Bruh, that's when you call Waianae Home Entry Systems. Let them rip, Sandy." And this brother turned, and you see, karam! And he just grab a piece of the roof and rip a big hole and dump it. I said, "Check that out. And guess what? Maybe you cannot get in your garage." Bruh! And this guy is busting out. And right?
Yeah.
Imagine. After that, people come, "Andy, what kind of budget you get? You can bust up Kahala houses." And we made sure that people could tell it was Kahala, right? We came down the street and, oh man, I always wonder what happened.
You still got that footage?
No, I don't have the footage. So many things my brother and I shot. It was, other people had it.
How do you come up with your material and like all these films or sketches you think of? Do you do like a pen to pad thing, or is it just something in your head and you kind of just spit it out there?
I used to do the pen to pad thing, right? But then, as you know, after you've been doing comedy for a while, and this is a terrible analogy, but I don't know if you ever hang out with like advanced martial artists, past black belt, red belt, the professor people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have developed an innate sense where their body just reacts if you try to do something, right? In fact, somebody asked Bruce Lee one time, "What if you were attacked and you killed the guy? What would you say in court?" And Bruce Lee said, "I would say, I didn't kill him. It killed him. I've been training so long that when the guy came in, boom, I just reacted."
Yeah.
Comedians develop that on a comedy sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where somebody says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" "Nothing." Well, how you know when you're done? You know what I mean? Because boom, you have the it
just comes naturally over the years.
No, tell me, how many times on stage have you ever said something and surprised yourself?
Yeah, a lot of times. Like that's where I come up with new tags and just to add on to the bit. You know.
Yeah. And you go, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But that's again my clunky analogy. That's it.
Yeah.
And when you develop it, now it can get you in trouble sometimes because you in a regular setting and somebody says something and you go, but oh God, I never mean to throw that out.
How did you deal with hecklers or haters in the crowd?
You know, it's weird. I don't really get hecklers.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while I do, right? But very rarely. In fact, even at the Comedy Store, there would be hecklers that heckled every comic that came on. I would come on and they wouldn't heckle
Just
me.
a likable guy.
I don't know what it was.
I asked Frank that same question, and he said the same thing. And I mean, I hardly get hecklers too. The only hecklers I get is good hecklers where they just can't shut up or they can't stop laughing.
They're so into it.
Yeah, or they're so drunk and they're just laughing at the wrong spots.
I was at the Comedy and Magic Club, right?
Yeah.
Plenty local people, right? We sold out the show. And there was this Howley guy, right, who was heckling, and obviously from the mainland and not local and stuff like that. And I go, you know, bro, you see the people sitting around you? That's who you have to worry about. I'm getting paid. I'll be here tomorrow. What you're saying, what you're doing doesn't affect me in the least. But brother had to iron one shirt. You know what I'm saying? Pay gas money.
Find a babysitter.
Hassle parking. Wait for his wife an extra half hour so she can get ready. And now you're ruining turn around. Look around and brother going like this. All of a sudden.
That's why you shut them up. Because it's hard, like, for us clean comics to kind of insult someone if they're talking back to you, you know, and be clean at the same time.
Well, my advice to anybody who's watching this and wants to learn how to do stand-up, okay?
What's some advice?
The dealing with hecklers thing is an art, okay? You cannot attack them right away because then you become the aggressor.
Yeah.
First, there's stages. First stage. Wow. Okay. And everybody, second stage. Wow. Is it just me or is anyone else bothered by this brother?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Third stage. You know what, bro? Now you have everybody on your side.
Yeah.
And that's the art, to be able to do that and do it in a clever way and still be entertained.
Yeah. And in the end, you got the microphone, and that's the power.
Yeah. Right. One time, bro, I was at a show and this comic was on, right? And he didn't know I was a comic. I was somewhere else, I forget. And not that many people were laughing, including me.
Yeah.
And he goes, what's the matter, man? You don't like comedy? And I go, no, I love comedy. I just, I'm sorry. I don't mean, well, you think this is easy? Well, no, I'm not. No, it obviously looks fair. Do you think you could do better than me up here? I'll give it a shot. Bruh. Come on. Let's bring him up. And everyone hated him by now anyway, right? So I get up there. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing the whole, I'm from Hawaii, good fun, be Mexican. And boom, I'm killing it. And then I go, let's bring so-and-so back up. Bro, he didn't even come back up. The MC came up. Good fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. Any advice besides the hecklers for younger comics, just in comedy in general, if they're thinking about starting?
The same advice I gave you. You know what I mean? It depends. Work clean. Yeah. I always say work clean.
Especially in Hawaii. That's the magic state, And you can do more gigs, corporate gigs, private gigs. That's why I got them all too.
Yeah. because it's a limited audience.
Yeah.
And by swearing or even scatological in any way, you limit the type of work you can get.
Exactly.
Okay? But also, I'm not against, like, I love Bill Burr.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dave Chappelle. These guys, I mean.
Yeah, who are some of your favorite comics right now?
Well, yeah, Bill Burr,
Dave
Chappelle. You know, I've always liked, Elaine Boozler. You know what I mean? She's clean.
Yeah.
But she's one of the the national comics that I just like the way they think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is about the clean thing, is working clean is like, harken back to your athletic days. You've got to learn the basics before you get fancy.
Exactly.
And to me, working clean is the basics, and getting fancy is adding the F-bombs if you can make it work. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of earn that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, these, I talk about, there's a lot of new guys out there, they got 3 adjectives, F, awesome, and effing awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Learn some adjectives, learn some colorful words.
Yeah.
We're wordsmiths.
Did you ever do a dirty set before?
No, I never did. In fact, when Rodney Dangerfield called me up to be a part of one of his specials, and he said to me, "But you're the only one that doesn't swear. Could you add some swear words to your set?"
He told you that?
Yeah. he said that to me. And I said, Rodney, I don't know. I wouldn't know where to begin to do it. I'm sorry. I love you, babe. Because he'd come to the Comedy Store all the time.
Yeah.
And I said, but I can't do it. And he goes, okay, then I'm going with Kennison. So he brought Kennison into the show, and that was the one that Kennison, when he took off.
Oh, so you're the reason for Kennison's...
No, I'm not the reason. Kennison was the hardest working guy. He was everywhere, and that's why Rodney liked him, because that was Rodney. Rodney had 5 different names, and he used to haunt Lenny Bruce in these different places just to kind of try to make it. Look have you ever known Rodney to be a comic before he was old?
No. Yeah.
Never. That's how long it took him to get, and he never gave up.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you look at Carlin or any of these guys, Steve Martin, there's films out there of them young.
Yeah.
But not Rodney.
Yeah. You always picture him old. Yeah. Isn't that crazy how Sam died, though? Kennison?
Yeah. Well, Sam was the same way, He was just... the classic story. Sam there was a comedy club, and it was it was on the 2nd floor, so you looked out of these big windows and you saw the telephone pole outside, right, with the wires and stuff. And Sam got banned from this club because of the kind of material he did. So in protest, Sam climbed the telephone pole and tied himself to it like Jesus. So during every set, everyone went, "Who's that guy out there tied to the pole?" Okay, we'll hire you.
Have you met Sam? You met him?
Oh yeah. We used to. Yeah, Sam was the guy that Mitzi would put on late at night because he would clear the room. He was just so
people would
offensive.
walk out. Yeah. Wasn't he a preacher first too?
Oh yeah, well he's a Pentecostal preacher, and his parents did tent shows.
Yeah.
So they'd go someplace,
right.
tent, and ask people for money, and he did it. And we got to be. If you ever see him do it, you crack up. And then the Lord came down, and he said, "I need to be, your glory." He does that afterwards. Funny.
What a crazy guy. Right?
But that's where it came from. But there was a big controversy because Bob Goldthwait thought that Stam stole his groove, because Bob Goldthwait was the first guy to do that. That weird kind of that
right.
screaming. That was Bob Goldthwait.
Oh, really?
So there was an issue between at the Comedy Store, and I'm sure it's still the same way in every comedy club. There's always that. Hey, you know what? Hey, didn't he?
Yeah. Always people accusing things. I remember the story you told me about some guy was doing all your material, in the mainland, and the audience member.
I forget. I think his name was Chasbo, and he was in Chicago.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, one of the comics,
was in the audience.
Yeah, he was in the audience,
Yeah.
And he goes. So he wasn't laughing, and Chasbo said, "Hey, what's your name?" And my friend goes, "Oh, Andy Bumatai," and he just went. And then he called me after and said, "Man, I've been doing your stuff." I said, "On the mainland?"
Yeah, this is before you went up there, right?
Yeah, before I went up there. And I went, "Really? How are you getting it to work?" He goes, "Well, oh, wait, hold on." And I'm like taken down and,
Yeah.
So it actually helped me in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Do you have any plugs you want to plug in, like your podcast? You still the Daily Pigeon?
I do a podcast. Yeah, it's, I'm on too many platforms, but at Thursdays at 3 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm all
all of them.
Yeah, I broadcast on all of those.
That's one thing I love about you. You stay with what the technology is.
I love it.
Yeah.
I really like the technology. But, and what's cool about it is, look, everyone has a television station in their pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You of anybody, So when I see you, you're a child of this generation,
everything's all in our pockets. Everything's phones now.
Yeah.
That's why even I remember you talking about it too, is that we don't do landscape anymore. We do everything vertical.
I don't know if you heard, but TikTok is going to start doing landscape.
Oh, so you just turn the phone, or
you got to turn the phone, but they're starting to say, "Hey, listen, now you can post landscape." And everybody's going, "What?" There's a whole, your generation going, "What? What kind of sacrilege is that?"
Yeah.
I'm old school cinematic, so I like the landscape because you can, compose a shot better and all that stuff. I mean, this, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, when you need to do it like that, I guess. But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do the podcast, and mostly, the No Vacancies Comedy Club. We're talking to some other places, but go to andybumatai.com, get your tickets there.
andybumatai.com, social media, Andy Bumatai.
I'm everything, just Andy Bumatai all over.
There. Yeah.
I'm the worst at pimping myself out, So I just got a gig at on the March 29th, I'll be at the Palace in Hilo with James Money, right?
Yeah.
And it's a fundraiser for somebody. So the guy calls me up and says, "Do you have a bio?" And I go, "No." He goes, "You have a bio?" And I go, "If you put my name on a poster and they don't want to come, a bio isn't going to change their mind, But that's how bad I am."
The legend, Andy Bumatai, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Go ahead and hit him up on social media, andybumatai.com. Check out his Daily Pigeon show. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
And No Vacancies is every weekend, right?
I'm sorry?
No Vacancies Comedy Club?
Yeah, every weekend. This, I think we got Augie and Lanai next weekend. This weekend, I'm there with Frank,
Right.
Sometimes Tumua shows up.
Sometimes I popped in. It's a great room. Local people.
Yeah.
If you live on the west side, great spot. But thank you for coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Bumatai.